Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another chapter of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's I Am That. And today we will be looking at chapter 28. And let us start here. What is love? What is love? When the sense of distinction and separation is absent, you may call it love. When the sense of distinction and separation is absent, you may call it love. Why so much stress on love between man and woman? Because the element of happiness in it is so prominent. The element of happiness is so strong and prominent between man and woman. Is it not so in all love? Not necessarily. Love may cause pain. You call it then compassion. What is happiness? Harmony between the inner and the outer is happiness. Harmony between the inner and outer. On the other hand, self-identification with the outer causes suffering. How does self-identification happen? Good question. The self, by its nature, knows only itself. For lack of experience, whatever it perceives, it takes to be itself. Battered, it learns to look out and to live alone. When right behavior becomes normal, a powerful inner urge makes it seek its source. The candle of the body is lighted, and all becomes clear and bright. The candle of the body is lighted, illuminated, and all becomes clear and bright. What is the real cause of suffering? Self-identification with the limited causes suffering. Self-identification with the limited causes suffering. Sensations as such, however strong, do not cause suffering. It is the mind, bewildered by wrong ideas, addicted to thinking, I am this, I am that fears loss and craves gain and suffers when frustrated. A friend of mine used to have horrible dreams night after night. Going to sleep would terrorize him. Nothing could help him. Company of the truly good, satsang, would help him. Life itself is a nightmare. Noble friendship, satsang, is the supreme remedy for all ills, physical and mental. Generally, one cannot find such friendship. Seek within. Your own self is your best friend. Your own self is your best friend. Your own self never leaves you, always there. Why is life so full of contradictions? It serves to break down the mental pride. We must realize how poor and powerless we are. As long as we delude ourselves by what we imagine ourselves to be, to know, to have, to do, we are in a sad plight indeed. Only in complete self-negation there is a chance to discover our real being. Why so much stress on self-negation? As much on self-realization. The false self must be abandoned before the real self can be found. That to me is a very important thing that he has just said. The false self, the conceptual self, the psychological pseudo-self, it must be abandoned before the real self can be found or can emerge. has the greater reality. If you continually identify with the person, which, by the way, of course, you are welcome to do, it appears there is free will, and you are free to identify with whatever you would like. And maybe you are very, 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 very happy identifying with the imagined person. Great. But, or however, if you're looking for the ultimate truth, at some point it will occur to you that you are not this person, the psychological self, that there's no one in the brain, that the brain creates a sense of self. And it's, biologically speaking, very wonderful. It helps the body to function, and even the sense of self-protection, living in nature, etc., it's helpful. But when it becomes too powerful, when it moves from a tool to master, then it can create suffering. Then clear, true, honest perception is lost. Because now that true perceiving, just perceiving what is now clouded by the fears and the desires of the psychological self. The pulling and the pushing and the grasping and the denying, attracting, repulsion, all of these things make the perception, the perceiving, impure. And we lose sight of ourself, of our true nature, as this pure, spacious, vast awareness, beingness. Nisargadatta says you are always the supreme. So what would you rather be, the supreme or this little tiny imagined self floating in the mind? And that self cannot go out of the mind because it is the mind. It lives within the realm of thought and mind and belief. And then it's also an energetic contraction, of course, as well. We feel it energetically in our body that we are somehow separate from the totality. So this false self, I suppose for some people there's a choice that says, once there's a seeing, just a little recognition, an awakening, whatever you want to call it, we perceive, oh, there's no way I can be this imagined self. It's evident. Then it appears that there's a choice to then no longer going to the mind for self-identification, no longer asking the mind, who am I, mind? Who am I? And then the mind can only give you a concept. You are this, you are that. But you can never be just a concept. I mean, in the relative world, we can say, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that. It makes sense in the relative world to speak like that. But it's just like wearing a costume. You know it's a costume. And you know at some point that costume can be taken off. And even if you are wearing the costume, it doesn't change, or maybe shouldn't, change or affect that which is inherent and essential to your beingness. The beingness is first. Everything else gets added onto it as we progress in this incarnation. So it appears that there is a choice. I no longer want to suffer. I no longer want to be this small conceptual self, which I've never actually been, but I have identified as. So then we take identification out of the mind, and some say move it into the heart, or move it back to awareness, or even go beyond that to the Parabrahman. So in one sense, we can choose to identify or not identify with the mind. And at another level, it's all grace. Sometimes it just happens like that you hear these stories of people just popping, waking up. And of course, it's not the person, it's not the conceptual self who's waking up. It's reality itself, which has been lying dormant. It awakens. Consciousness becomes conscious of itself, is one way of saying it. The awareness which is always present, it seems to be secondary, seems to be in the background. It moves to the foreground. It becomes the primary experience of who you are. And thoughts and everything else, the five senses, all of these changeful things just sort of float, relax, and they become secondary. They're no longer a problem. They're just what they are, appearances. Just appearances, things coming and going. Love. Let us end with love. Kapara Brahman. God is love. Love is God. Love is life. Life is love. All is one. There is variety and difference, but no separation anywhere. This is the sacred heart of God, the Parabrahman, the absolute supreme reality. So allow yourself to merge and sink and melt in this alive, awake, alert awareness. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you again for another chapter of I Am That.